So,
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast. We're doing a special episode this week because it's the one and only break the Cup Series is going to have this season. So, with 9 races in, then we got to run to the finish. We're just going to give our thoughts on where we think everybody stands, who's happy there's a break and needs a reset, and who's probably upset that we're going on break because their momentum is good and they probably don't want to get out of that rhythm. So with that, we've got myself, Chris, Kevin, and Blake, and we'll work our way through. So how do you gentlemen want to do this? You want to do it by team or you want to do it by work our way through the point standings?
I think point standings.
All right.
yeah, I
So
agree.
we'll take it away. All right. So at the top of the point standings is William Byron. We talked about it in the episode the other day. He's chugging along, Mr. Consistency, 90 stage points, and has a healthy 30-point lead over second, and has the most stage points. Nope, he's second most stage points now. Up until this week, he had been the most stage point accumulated by any driver. Now he's second to Ryan Blaney on that. Uh, what do you think? You think they need a break, or you think they're just happy where they're at?
I don't think they care whether there's a break or not. I think that they're so steady that break or not, they're content. My opinion.
I agree.
You, Chris?
Well, I would say that until we went to this week where they got absolutely no stage points at all.
Yeah, but they finished fifth.
Yeah, but
But
so I'm going to say I would normally agree with both Kevin and Blake on this, but I think I'm agreeing with Chris because in the spring, Martinsville race, Byron was really nowhere to be seen, and he's dominated that race the last several seasons in this car. And I don't know what happened with him and Rudy, but they just were not. Chase was strong, and it was like Chase became the lead car there this time, where normally the 24 has, last several seasons, 24 has been the front pack runner. So I'm curious if their short track program for not Hendrick, obviously, because Larson ran well, Chase has run well, but just if Byron and Rudy have kind of made some changes and maybe they're not as strong as they were last year on the short tracks.
That won't hurt my feeling.
I mean,
No, might be there.
that's possible. But he had a shitty qualifying lap,
Yeah.
and that's why he didn't gain stage points. They had to fight and claw. And I mean, when you finish fifth at Bristol and there's a long green flag runner like that, I think that I don't think there's a big, deal going on with the team. Yeah, Martinsville was their worst race, but outside of that, the team's solid. Like I said, if I'm them, I'm not worried at all about the off week. I think it's just, probably more time to dial in and hope they luck into another plate win.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a point there. I mean, bad qualifying lap, and he didn't decide to run the low line on lap 4.
Yeah.
Can I pause for a second?
Yeah.
I didn't know we were allowed to have big fancy backgrounds. I didn't
Yeah,
know
dude.
Kyle Busch was allowed to crash through my wall and
Yep.
be right there by my ear. So
Yep.
I'll have to work on that now.
Blake's setting
So
the stage. He's cheating.
I'll help you set it up, buddy.
So, all right. So we think obviously Byron and them, they're
Nice.
doing pretty good. Their results speak for themselves. They do tend to fade in the middle of the year, so we'll see if that still happens, and then they regroup when it comes playoff time or not. Um, Moving on, Mr. Hamlin got a new sponsor. It seemed to reinvigorate them. He, clipped off 2 wins. One was like a getting back, kind of karma thing, and the other was, where he typically runs good. So he's, solidly second in points, 30 back. I would say he probably feels pretty good overall, considering where he's at in his march to get to that number 60 win.
yeah, I think Denny's full speed ahead. He probably didn't even want the week off. I mean,
I
first,
was about to say the
second,
same thing.
do it.
I was about to say the same thing. I think that
Yeah,
they probably hate that there's a week off, and this will potentially kill their momentum. Um, Doubtful, but he hasn't run well in the next gen at plate tracks, so I'd say that they're probably hating the fact that there's an off week.
Yeah.
I agree with Kevin on that.
All right. So next up on our list then is Mr. Bell. He's the one that scares me, truthfully, because normally he doesn't come on till the middle summertime. Like he's strong, but he doesn't usually clip off his wins till we get to like Loudon and places like that. So the fact that he's already racked up 3 through various circumstances, none of which where he was the dominant car. He was one of them, but not the dominant car. And he's already sitting on 3. I think one, he's probably probably not looking forward to a break because they've been, pretty steady and then had those 3 lucky victories. But I can see them, season's over because they're already sitting on 3. I could see them ending just under a double-digit season if they play their cards right, between 8 to 10 wins.
I don't know. That team's so damn hot and cold, though.
I agree.
It all yeah. So I mean, I think it was a great start for what that we're used to seeing out of Bell, but did they use their up their racing luck too early in the damn season?
True. Usually he, like I said, they bring it on at the end. So maybe they spent their magic dust too early in the year.
I kind of think some of it was right place, right time because he only has 1 stage win.
Yep.
And he's led a lot less laps than a lot of other people that only have 1 win, 2 wins. So, I mean, granted, it was badass. It was 3 in a row, but I think honestly, like 1, he fully earned out of the 3, and the other 2, it just he made it happen when it was time. So I mean, and then that's what you got to do. You got to be clutch when it's time. So I commend him on that. I like C Bell, and I say he'll get probably 5-6 wins this year. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
I do think it's funny to sit and listen to some of the people, even in the industry, sit and talk though, or not the industry, but the fan side of stuff that are excited about I mean, even Kevin led into it a little bit that just being in the right place at the right time for a couple of those wins that he got at the beginning of this season, but how pissed off they all got about the way Joey won his races last year.
Mm-hmm. It's all about who's in the seat.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, the right place at the right time is taking advantage of the situation that you're handed at the moment. And that's exactly, and especially with a crew chief like Paul Wolf. I mean, that is a potent team. That's a dangerous team to put in a situation like that where you need somebody to come up with a strategy and nobody else is willing, let alone even thinks about pulling. Paul Wolf is a crew chief that will do that for you every time, because how many wins did we ever see him and Brad pull where they were not even close to being the dominant car, but Paul Wolf pulls a strategy that nobody ever saw coming.
Yeah. So
I didn't know
Chris has decided to jump ahead in points here to Joey Logano in 9th. So that's okay. So Joey has 70 stage points. And so, I mean, to your point, Paul has kept him when they don't have the car to win in a position to gather points, which is how I think you're going to get into this playoffs if you don't win this year. I don't see us having 16 winners by anywhere near it when we get to the playoff cutoff. I'll be surprised if we have 12. So I think that points are going to become really important here in the next 4 or 5. Everybody's going to kind of have to realign their perspective of what they're going after, because you've seen so many chances get away to the point of one, Joey Logano and where they're at. I think they need the break because, Penske's definitely got the power. We've seen that with the Wood Brothers cars of Barry. They've won at Vegas. Impressive. And they've been fast, had some bad luck like they did at Darlington. Fast car. And Ryan's been really fast, but had 2 bad engines.
Yeah, I think Blaney is happy for this off week. Good Lord.
I think he's happy for a reset. I think Penske's overall is happy for a reset to kind of shake the bugs out of the system.
3 DNS for Blaney. Yeah.
But they have speed. So they're not, speed's not their concern. Luck and strategy seems to be their concern. But to your point about Joey and Paul and where they're at in points, they're gathering points right now while they're not in position, while they work on what gets them in position. And I mean, they are, the results speak for themselves. 3 championships, all winning when it matters most in terms of who's the best driver in the garage, talent-wise combination to do that very thing. Not best well-rounded driver, but the best driver in the Cup Series to get it done when it matters most. Joey Logano wins hands down. He's got 3 championships that say nobody else does it better right now until somebody else steps up and takes it from him.
Yeah. I wasn't necessarily even just trying to jump to Joey. I just think it's amazing how pissed off people got about the way Joey got his wins, but they seem to be okay with the way Bell got his.
Yeah.
That was kind of my point on making that comment.
No, that's a good point.
Is that directed at me?
No. I'm just saying. I guess thinking back to some of your comments, kind of, but yeah.
Go ahead,
because I'm not necessarily a Logano fan either, but that's what we've been given. That's what NASCAR has given not only us as fans, but given the drivers and the crew chiefs to deal with, and they've utilized it to their best ability, better than anybody else has done.
Yeah.
Okay. What you got, Blake?
To get back to Bell, I think you gotta kind of look back. We're one bad push away in the Daytona 500, potentially seeing him win 4 in a row. So I mean, and I don't really look at the Atlanta thing as luck. I mean, the caution came out for him, but he was, I mean, he took the lead on his own. That's not luck. You know, the caution came out while he was leading. I guess that was luck, but you know, you take that Daytona, and then you got, you know, he went out and took Coda. I mean, there was no luck in that.
He's definitely done it different ways. He's gone out and won
Phoenix.
the race
He won
himself, been in the right position. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see it as being lucky at all. But but as far as the off week, I think they're probably happy that it's here because they have had a couple rough weeks where it comes to Homestead. They, you know, they spun out on their own, and they did have a good comeback run at Darlington, and this week they're just kind of steady. So I think they're happy that the off week is here and going back to a plate track where they've been actually decent here lately.
Okay. So moving on to our next driver, Chase Elliott. Kyle Larson, his better half in the HMS team. So Larson moved up 2 spots this week with his win and his domination, collected 2 stages in the trophy, spanked everybody, 72 stage points. I'm really looking back. There's a couple where I'm like, man, what could have been so far this season? So I would say, hey, they're probably happy. You know, they probably don't want to break because they're running well, but I think they have nothing they're worried about going into the, you know, their week-long vacation, because they're coming off of several wins when you compare Homestead and what he did at Homestead and what he did at Bristol this weekend. You know, Kyle's, as a racer, doing everything he needs to do. You know, sometimes you can't control the things that happen. Some of it's his fault, maybe some of it's not. But it seems like right now his aggression and the calls that Cliff is making are firing overall really well. Because out of those 6 races, he's won 4 of them. That's a pretty damn good number to have. Plus, you know, he's got 2 on the season so far for the Cup side of the house. So I think they're obviously in really good shape. But I'm hoping that they can get a couple of the small miscues out of the way, because I think this is another one of those years where they could easily get to a double-digit win based off our preseason picks if they just cut down a couple of the small mistakes. What do you think, Blake? This is your guy.
I was
Clean up
seeing
the
if
low
anyone
line.
could chime in. I think this week is probably welcomed for one reason and one reason only, and that is that this will give them time to build a new car, because where they
Especially
destroyed
the Darlington one.
they destroyed the car in Darlington. Is my point? Yes, Chris. So they're going to be able to make a new car and not fall behind at all due to the only off week in the year. It's going to help. You know, they're not going to fall behind is what I'm trying to get at. And I got a feeling they're going to get crashed out at Dega because that's what happens to Kyle Larson at Dega 90% of the time.
Well, that's probably good they got this buffer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just restrictor plates in general. Well, or drafting tracks, whatever the hell you want to call them. But yeah, that I think he's got about the worst damn luck on those tracks that I've seen him anybody.
So then next we've got his other half, Chase Elliott, and who's going to be the A driver at HMS. Surprise, Chase fans, you're third in line really, but he's collected 50
Some weeks
points.
fourth.
Yeah, he's got 50 points of stage win, the stage points accumulated, but they've been extreme for him. They're performing better in some cases, and in some cases worse in my observation. They're very hot and cold right now. Martinsville, very strong, just like he was at Bowman, kind of what I expected from the Clash. I think he'll probably run really well at Loudon when we get there based on that. But at the same time, him and Allen, it seems like they're still struggling. I think their early season staying, not so much performance, but staying out of the mess is saving them right now.
Do you think there's any thoughts in splitting him and Gustafson up? Possibly switching Blake Harris with Gustafson, seeing if that will kind of reinvigorate the 48 and the 9?
If it is, I don't think it'll happen over the break. I think that'll be an end of year.
No, I'm just in general because he's been with Gustafson since he started with in 2016.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he's got a championship with him, but I don't know. They just seem kind of, I mean, I know they're running good. I mean, they're obviously running good. They're fifth in points, but the whole team in the last couple of years just seemed kind of stale.
Yeah. Yeah. And, maybe a change up would be good for him. Since they moved this car, they just haven't had the success. So I agree somewhat to your point.
I think waiting until the end of the year will be a mistake, though. I think if you're going to do something like that, you should do it now, while you've got the advantage of having those stage points to fall back on, and take a chance on getting yourselves running. With, I mean, not just being fifth in points with the stage points to fall back on, but having that big of a gap from fifth to 16th right now, and get a chance to get it up and running before you lose the tail end of that field. Depending on how many winners we get, that could easily happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, with you got all four drivers and Hendrick in the top 10 in points right now.
Is Bowman still in the top 10?
He's 10th, yeah.
Okay.
Why are you gonna mess with that? Is my thing. Why would you mess with that? Yeah. So it's one of those,
like I said,
don't fix things.
They're both kind of stale right now. I mean, Bowman's qualifying well, but they're having crap runs or they're blowing up, and I don't know. I just thinking that'd be a good move to help the teams to reinvigorate them.
Well, I mean, if they're blowing up, that has nothing to do with the crew chief. So
I just kind of threw that in there, though. Just
saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I don't know. I mean, that's just my thoughts.
For doing it in the past, though.
Yeah. All right. So what about Flying Ryan Blaney? I mean, he's had some hellacious speed. He should be sitting on 2 or 3 wins right now this season, but 2 blown motors and some bad qualifying runs. If he could start closer to the front, he'd be damn near unbeatable on these long.
It don't matter if he starts in the front of his pit crew. Can't get him off pit road.
Again, they've had the worst pit crew of not just of the Penske bunch, but damn near the worst pit crew on pit road. So I think from a team perspective, but this is another one of those. Penske probably needs that week to, I bet you those pit crew guys ain't going on vacation. I bet you they're doing double overtime practices.
And I don't know if the 2 cars crew is better, but if they are, it's time to swap them.
Yeah.
Because he's the most dangerous driver out there right now. Yes, he doesn't have a win, but he's had 3 DNFs in a row at that one point, but he was the strongest car in all 3 of those races. And he should have won Darlington. He's gonna win. I know. I think it was Kevin, or no, was it Chip in our feed that said he doesn't think he'll win a race this year. I don't agree with that at all. He is going to string something together, and it will be soon if they figure out the crew issues. Because without fixing that, they're not gonna win as many as they can.
Yep.
If they have a decent enough crew, they win Darlington.
Okay. So next in line is Tyler Reddick. I got to be honest, I'm surprised he's seventh in points, not because of his, obviously we know what he's capable of, but we just haven't talked about him all season really. So
I haven't seen him on the screen
right,
very much at
I'm
all.
I'm surprised he's got 52 stage points. Don't know how he managed to get that many. When again, you don't see him on screen. Not that those cars aren't capable, but he and Bubba Wallace, so we'll talk about them together. They're both right on top of each other.
Mhm.
They're 15 points apart essentially. Bubba's got almost 20% more stage points though, 78 to 52. So it's impressive, it's expected at this point that, with Denny's plan, what 23-11, what he wants from him. And these are the two veteran guys. I don't have any expectations for Riley Herbston's first year. So whatever he does is just, if he does well, great. If not, it's his rookie year. And we've seen year over year what it takes to be successful in Cup for new folks. So
Yeah.
And Chris, what does he not have on the car?
Ooh,
Riley Herbst.
I don't know.
What's he like? 30,
Rookie
30
stripes.
what?
Oh yeah, rookie stripes.
33rd.
I I think that Bubba is definitely. I think Bubba's actually doing. I think that team where they might be behind the 45. I think they are ahead of them as far as uh, gelling as a team, and I think that they'll get a win before Reddick. I really believe that. Um, I
yeah, I think the
also
23 has probably got more speed right now than the
yeah
45 overall, it seems like.
yeah yeah.
I,
I don't I don't think that I don't know. Something's going on with that 45 team. Yeah, they're top 10 in points, but you just don't see them on the screen very often at all. Like you said earlier, it's kind of weird. If you don't mind backtracking, did you say how many stage points Larson had?
He's got 72.
72. Okay.
Yep. So he's got a good bit. I think if he doesn't if he doesn't wreck out early at Darlington, he's probably sitting in the 80 range, probably. Because he most certainly would have been up front for both those stages. Don't know where he would have finished, but I mean, that's, his bread and
yeah,
butter, that track. So,
he has the fourth most stage points.
yeah.
So
Okay.
it's
He was
Blaney,
second. He was
Byron,
second in
Bubba,
points
and
going.
then him.
He was second in points going into Darlington. Fell back to sixth, and now he's back up to what'd you say, fourth?
Which,
Okay.
that's how bad a DNF hurts you way more than a win helps you. To that point, like a DNF plummets you into the points. A win, when all your other competition is running just okay, even, it makes it hard to gain ground.
Well,
So
an,
when we get
an
to the back of
early
the field, go ahead.
an early DNF.
Yeah.
DNF in the third stage.
Wouldn't hurt as bad as a DNF in
Yeah,
lap
yeah.
four.
Well, that's what I mean. Like a DNF where you collect 0 stage points on the day, to your competition collecting 40 to 60 points. That's a big hole to dig out of.
And I guess that's what Chris was getting at with the Byron thing, like him when he finished fifth, but as far as the day, he might as well have finished 14th or so,
Yeah.
So who's 10th in points?
Mr.
Bowman.
Bowman, which we talked about a little bit already. They're just not, I think they need the break. They've
They
had
definitely do.
glimpses of speed, but overall they're falling backwards while other people are going forward. Some of it's their fault, some of it's not. They can't control a blown engine. I think we've seen it from a couple teams this year. Everybody's kind of pushing the issue because you're not giving us horsepower, and they took the engines a couple weeks ago to do dyno testing. So I think everybody's on the chip as far as they can go.
And if his spotter and crew chief don't push him to move up a lane at Homestead, maybe he wins Homestead. Instead,
Yep.
he runs it in the wall, trying to run the same line, and
Yep.
who knows, possibly.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next up is Ross Chastain, the one and only
I,
Trackhouse car anywhere near sniffing the top 10.
I'd like to address him and Busher.
Yeah,
11th and 12th. I can't remember seeing them on the screen anytime lately. And I guess Ross apparently led 39 laps. Busher's led 0.
yeah.
I'm surprised they are even where they are. I honestly thought Priest would be the highest of the RFK drivers by points wise by a margin, but Priest is in 14th. So
Well, believe it or not, Chastain is 3 top 10s in a row. They just don't talk about him much. He is uh, as Alan
just
said,
there.
he is running above the capability of his cars.
Yep.
He's essentially doing what Kyle Larson did at Ganassi.
Yep.
Granted, they don't really talk about him unless he's running over somebody.
Yeah.
So
Like he's
I,
obviously carrying that car on his back.
Yeah.
Busher,
Fox
I agree with
broadcast.
you. I'm surprised where he's at. I think RFK as a whole needs to reset because they're kind of all over the place. At times they have flashes of speed, and at other times it's like they don't even have tires on their cars, literally. Uh, so, but I'm surprised Busher is ahead of Priest because we've seen Priest more up front than we have Busher. So it's like Busher's running around with an invisibility cloak. I didn't think he'd run that well, but I mean he has.
he's
Good for them.
he's got a decent amount of stage points, doesn't he?
He's got 20, which is
Yeah.
that's not bad. Priest has 31 though. That's surprising.
Oh, okay.
That's surprising. I mean, going in, I didn't have nothing against Ryan Priest, but going to a new team, not going from an inconsistent team at SHR to a new team within a group that hasn't been a three-car team in a while. I figured it would take him a while. So for the fact that they've racked up, he's only 2 spots behind his teammate there in 12th, Chris Busher, with 31 stage points. I'm impressed with Ryan Priest.
He
Uh,
did have a few top 10 finishes in a row, if I remember right.
yeah. So he's led some laps. He's got a stage win. He's doing what he was brought there to do. So I think he's showing he deserves to be there when the contract renewal shows up so far.
he's also fighting for his life. Like,
Yep.
contract. So
Well, like I told y'all prior episode, I think he's the next in line to drive the 6.
Well, his number does have a 6 in it, so maybe.
Yeah.
And sitting between them, guy who started off the year awful is probably glad to have the break to kind of like reset the season. Chase Briscoe, I think we all expected way more out of him going to JGR.
I
Uh,
know I did.
um, that 19 car has been fast when Truex was in it. Briscoe has definitely punched above his weight class last year in those SHR cars, winning Darlington. Um, he showed he can do it against the best when he beat Kyle Busch at Darlington during the COVID pandemic. Like he's most certainly capable. So I think that car is finally starting to run where it's supposed to be, up towards the top 10 consistently. But yeah, go ahead.
Unfortunately, I think the problem with that
Car is the isn't. I mean, as much as I didn't really understand them putting Chase in that car, after watching the performance that Truex had last year, and then watching the performance that Chase has had at the beginning of this year, I don't necessarily think it's the driver that's the problem with that car.
Now, you know what? I will agree with you on that. I think some people are better car chiefs than crew chiefs. James Small, when he took over for Cole Pern, he's his right hand, but he's never going to be Cole Pern. Just like, Ron Malik was Chad Knaus's right hand as Johnson's crew chief, but he's never going to be Chad Knaus. So, and he didn't want to be, but some guys get put up in that position and they're able to lean off of the innovation, and the two together make a great pair, but maybe one or the other separated just can't quite do the same thing. So I agree. I think James Small, we've seen him blow plenty of races for Truex. But at least the car is running better, but I think overall they're probably happy for the break. They get a chance to reset now that they've hopefully gotten their bad luck behind them, and we'll see what they can do when we come back.
and that's
I
what
agree.
that was sorry, Blake.
But that was kind of the sad part watching Truex last year is The car had speed, but it seemed like they screwed something up every friggin' race.
Yeah,
I mean,
Truex should have ended his last 2 years with at least 6 to 8 wins between those 2 seasons combined, and they pissed away several that they should have won. Either he made a mistake, but more often than not, the team made a mistake.
I like to look back at the 2023 Richmond race and just laugh at James Small.
Hmm.
You're not going to tell your driver that he's got scuffs on. That were they 15 lap scuffs? Is that what they were? Like
They
it was
were.
like you're not going to tell him that. Hey, we know it's a late race restart, but those are scuffs. Like kind of goes to show you what kind of crew chief Small is. But as far as the team now, I think that they're welcoming the week off, but I think as far as a team that's got a new driver and having to figure him out, they're doing damn good. So I can only see them going up from here.
Yeah. So then we
They're a
talked
lot
about.
better than 54.
Yep, we talked about Priest already. So Kyle Busch is sitting there in 15th, no movement one way or the other. And then right behind him is Allmendinger, who, they have an alliance colleague in RCR. So you see those cars kind of running together. Kyle Busch only has 16 stage points. So that tells you that he's carrying that car on speed because it's obviously not pit strategy due to the lack of stage points and getting the finishes to get him there. I think he welcomes a break because at this point, I think he's probably frustrated. He's, if you've listened to his interviews at times, the one he did recently with Harvick, I think he's kind of accepted this is where he's at. Not that he's happy with it, but this is just where he's at in his career until something changes with this car. He's kind of prioritizing his frustrations on other things. And then Dinger, I'm sure Dinger is thrilled right behind him because that Harvick said it in his thing this week. What's the common denominator when you look at, all right, Trackhouse was really good. Who'd they give over to Colleague? Ty Norris. Colleague has made a lot of changes, but where's Colleague's cars running overall? AJ's been fast, and Ty Dillon, who most people have written off, has had speed. So you've seen a surge in those cars. I think they're probably welcoming the break because they've had some bad luck, not of their doing, but in terms of speed, they're doing pretty good. And I think they're doing better than what most people expected based on past performance.
So with Kyle Busch, I think part of his issue is Bretchton is racing all the time. And I think his focus is just a little bit off of his racing and more on his son's future / career. And then I bet I would say they are welcoming the week off and then with Allmendinger, I would say that they're not welcoming it because they pulled off the fastest lap of the weekend and they finished the last car on the lead lap. So on in ninth at that. So that's a great run at Bristol for a team like that. So I would say that they're hating the fact that they're having a week off.
Yeah.
The sad part is, it shows. I mean, I am not a Kyle Busch fan. I never have been, but it shows. I honestly think Trackhouse, as far as Chastain, ultimately have better cars.
And but Kyle Busch, I think, is putting on
A better clinic when it comes to punching above his weight class. The sad part is he's ultimately having performances that probably would be equal to what Earnhardt used to do in Childress equipment, other than they've made the field so fucking equal.
Yeah.
it doesn't show.
I've listened to a few podcasts throughout the last couple of days, and I did a lot of thinking today, and just some of the comments that some of these guys have made. Listening to Denny, listening to DBC, some of the stuff that Tommy Baldwin had to say, and it's sad that you are. All of motorsports. It doesn't matter what kind of motorsports you have.
the people
behind the scenes are the ones that are supposed to be the difference maker. But with all the information that you're giving every single team and the limitations you're putting on what these guys can and can't do for the cars, because I'm trying to remember, I think it was possibly Denny was saying that they're almost even limiting some of the changes they're allowing us to make to the cars.
Yep.
I mean, what?
I mean, basically, the perfect evaluation for me is you're basically putting an entire field of fucking LeBron James out there for everybody to watch and expecting it not to be a flop.
I mean, how else
Do you really explain that? I mean, I think that's the best evaluation I can come up with.
That was good.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
I mean, you can't explain it any better than that. You literally have an entire field of fucking LeBron James, and you expect the whole thing to not be a fucking flop. That's the only way I can put it.
Yeah. So we'll move on to 17th. All right. So Josh Berry,
Sorry, real
Yeah, go
quick.
ahead.
I have one last thing with Colleague. How ironic is it that Ty Norris leaves Trackhouse, goes to Colleague. Trackhouse is floundering outside of Chastain, punching above his weight class,
Mhm.
and now Colleague's lifting up.
Well,
Like,
you can track that progression if you go way
Yeah.
back at the beginning. Ty Norris helped build DEI with Dale.
Yeah.
DEI was up. Teresa ran Ty off. He goes to MWR. MWR goes from can't make a race to race winning, championship contending till they did some dumb shit. Then he goes from there to help. I'm trying to remember where he went next, but
I believe he helped Ganassi.
yeah, he helped Ganassi for a while, and when they had, and brought them back up into contention, then he goes from there to, but essentially it's the rebuild of Ganassi under, Trackhouse, and they almost won the championship in their first year under this new platform, and now he's moved to a colleague, and like I said, the ones he leaves, they fall behind. So obviously there's something to his management style and prioritization of resources and teamwork and all those things that he gets people to buy into. He's obviously a very valuable partner. If I had a checkbook and I'm trying to bring somebody over to help bring my team up, he'd be at the top of my list. As somebody I would look at bringing in.
Yep. I'd give him a check that doesn't have any numbers on it.
Yep. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Kevin, because I got to go in the other room for a minute and start some stuff, but I'll let you
I want
run us through.
to address Kyle because I am a Kyle fan. So, I think he said it best in his
Kyle who?
Harvick. What? Oh, shut
Kyle
up.
who?
Mr. 15th place, Kyle. I think he addressed it best in his interview with Harvick. The last few years, he's had to work harder than he's ever had to work to get what he can get. So, I mean, that just shows. Yes, he's walked away from lesser equipment, one, and also just how complicated and equal these next gen cars are. And I mean, I don't see RCR making any big strides this year. If he makes the playoffs, cool. If he sneaks a win, that would be awesome. But I don't think, it'll be a first or second round exit, unfortunately, if he makes it in. I mean, I think he'll get a win this year. I think he's just hungry enough. He's going to make it happen. But I don't see it going anywhere deep in the playoffs. The way they're running.
Are you thinking they're happy for the off week or no?
Yes. He's on the beach with Samantha right now, having drinks right now. So, and they're probably, I'm unless Brexton's racing somewhere, they took a family vacation, I'm sure, because they're all about family vacations. So I'm sure they're on a beach and he's probably blocking it out right now.
Yeah, they're probably making stupid TikToks.
Probably so, yes.
But I mean, that's why
I'll argue probably to my dying day that for me, even for the reputation, and you still hear some of these guys talk about them through the broadcast, especially having Harvick in the booth, since Harvick drove for him at one time. But I honestly do not think in my heart of hearts that RCR, even though a lot of people would state that they are a powerhouse team, that's never been a powerhouse team. You had Harvick that could drive way above what the equipment could do. You had Earnhardt, which absolutely could drive way above what the equipment was supposed to do, and you now have Kyle Busch, which is right there on that level, if not higher. But just the fucked up cars that they're giving them to drive, it's not possible anymore. It's just not possible in this car.
But I mean, you guys know how I feel about the next gen cars. I absolutely hate them, and I think we're all pretty much on the same agreement with that. That just it's just completely changed everything, and it's honestly that was one of the most boring Bristol races I've ever seen. I'm sure Blake really liked it, but that was one of the most boring Bristol races I've ever seen.
Well,
And
we're two different types of fans, though. I've only known you for a short time. We're two different types of fans. I don't necessarily need a bunch of bumping and banging. And like I said in the podcast last night, people say it was a bad race just because there wasn't battles for the lead. Well, Denny Hamlin was on his ass almost the entire last run. So I mean, he didn't pass him, no, but he's having to work through traffic, and when he wasn't lapping him sufficiently, then he's catching him. So I mean, no, there wasn't cautions. I know there wasn't a lot of battles for the lead, but there was battles throughout the field. And
We just
to
didn't
say
get
it
to
was
see him.
a race sucks because Fox is terrible at showing anything but the leader or second or third. And on the rare occasion they do show something in the back, it's because something crazy just happened and it so happened to have a camera on it.
mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, Mike Joy did say on one of the broadcasts, like, if you want to see everything that's going on, buy a ticket. Like, I can't imagine a bigger smack in the face to people, truthfully. Like, that's not the answer I would say. Like, you're just trying to explain why y'all's camera crew is doing a shitty job articulating what's happening on the track throughout. I mean, we're talking about a half-mile track after all for this one in particular. You know,
Hey,
But the absolute
Well,
ridiculous.
ridiculous part about what you just said, though, Alan. We're the only ones that are fucking talking about it. How did nobody else, as a fan, catch that?
yep. I don't understand it. You know, I personally found it offensive as a fan. You know, you want me to buy a ticket, but then in the same breath, Fox, FS1, Speed Channel, you know, all the iterations that it's been, you got rid of the speed stage, you got rid of Built by the Home Depot, you got rid of all the stuff, all the fan service stuff. I mean, we talked about it different times throughout the episodes since last year when Blake and I went to Bristol. I used to go to Richmond and I would spend all weekend there. Same thing, Bristol, same thing going to Pocono. There's no reason for me to go to the race other than for the race day because you've gotten rid of all the stuff to do. So, I mean, we're talking about the number, you know, where people are running or everything, but to that point of, you know, side discussion,
Mm-hmm.
you want me to show up and buy a ticket, you got to give me a reason to be there.
Yeah.
and,
I mean,
and
Bristol's is just, I mean, I'd say a fourth of the size of what it used to be as far as the fan engagement. I mean,
yeah,
it's horrible. It's
to
crazy.
to finish off what I was saying there, you know, Chip brought it up in our thing that he was hoping for last spring's race this year. That's not a race. That's not even a tire degradation race. That is a Brickyard 2.0 race, and that's not action to me. I was at last spring's race, and that was god awful. I was sitting in the stands embarrassed to even be there. And
I
that's
would
not racing to
root
me. When you
for the
have to worry
tires.
about, huh?
I would root for the tires to fail like that if the drivers were going all out. But if they're doing that and they're having to, you know, dance around the track instead of being able to drive out and compete for position, I agree. That's not racing. Now, if they're doing that and they're cording them because they're hanging it out wide open and pushing position and they just drive over the limit and wear out their stuff, that's fine.
Well, I did the math on it, and I said it in our group chat. When they're failing at lap 40, that's the same as failing at lap 10 at the Brickyard. The exact same. So to root for a race that to happen like that is asinine in my opinion. Now, if it happened around lap 80, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But lap 40, no. Mm-mm.
So where are we at now?
After accomplished,
We didn't go far.
Wow.
we got
You
stuck.
guys were on for 5 seconds. All right, so back to Barry. So not barring getting wrecked at Darlington, I think they're probably overall feeling pretty good. They probably want a break to tighten some things up. But I mean, they're the second fastest Penske car in terms of, through
Oh,
association. I think they're probably overall pretty happy, and they've got some room to work because they've already knocked that win off early. So they've got, they can play a couple different strategies that maybe they wouldn't have had available to them earlier in the year had they not gotten that win at Vegas. So I would say overall they're probably happy because they've got speed. They've just had some bad luck, and they've already got a race win.
I did want to pull a Blake though. You made
The comment about with Roush that even the wheels falling off the car, wasn't the wheel, it was just lug nut.
Yep. Yeah, you're not wrong. So what about Stenhouse? This is the new whatever the heck the race team is called.
Kayak.
Hayek.
Yeah.
There we go. Hayek the kayak. He's sitting at 18th. He's not far outside he's 24 points back for being a one-car team. I don't even know who they have affiliation with at this point, but for being a one-car team, 18th in points, and we're going to Dega, I think they're probably feeling pretty good heading into the break.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's 18th, but yeah.
I'm sure with Dega being the next race, they're biting, biting the chomp to get to Dega and hopefully to win it, just like they did in the fall.
Yeah. So this next one surprises me. First off, it surprised me because of where he's at, based on I feel like they've run way worse than this. But Michael McDowell is 19th in points. And I expected him to first off be the lead car with Spire. And I feel like the lead car at Spire has been Hocevar. Just they've, stepped on their nuts a couple times to take themselves out of it. But
Wow.
I think he's the fastest car. But McDowell being up there 19th in points, considering I feel like he hadn't even been on screen. I'm surprised. But I think Spire as a whole probably needs that break to get some things realigned and kind of reset.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm just looking at it. I'm shocked Hocevar's 25th.
Yeah, I
Wow.
really would have thought he was better.
And he went
He's
up
had
5 spots this
some-
week.
He's had some bad luck when it comes to how they finish races.
I would say when you're in the back of the field, so we see some major jumps. For example, like the last 2 weeks, Ty Gibbs is up to 20th and he was buried in the points. He's right behind McDowell and he went up 6. Haley went up 6 at 23rd. So, and they're starting to run up toward the front. I think when we get past the top, probably, I'm going to say 12, it's easier to gain ground. I think once you get inside that top 12, it's probably really hard to gain positions. You see them moving 1 or 2 spots, not 5 or 6. They're not dramatic jumps. So, but still, all those people we talked about, Ty Gibbs finally has turned in 2 top 10s in succession. So they needed this. I think they need the break very much, and they're right behind McDowell. I think McDowell needs the break because I coming from front row to Spire, I would have thought that would have been not necessarily a lateral with McDowell's skill. I would have thought that would have been a move up because we've seen the speed the cars have with Hocevar. So to see McDowell struggle has been kind of a surprise, but I am surprised where they are in points because they haven't run very well and they're still not that far out of making it into the top 16.
I think it goes to show you how 16th on back essentially is on top of each other because they basically just trade spots every week.
So from 16th at 198 points, the next person is 10 points back, and that's Barry, and he's got to win. So really, he's already up there.
Yeah.
So really it's Stenhouse at 176. Everybody after Stenhouse, they're 4 points apart, 5 points apart, 8 points apart,
Yep.
7 points apart, all the way down till we get to pretty much Eric Jones, and then it drops like a cliff to people that you just don't expect to see back there. So, but yeah, we're getting it back into some of the surprises. Ty Gibbs and on JGR car. This is his third season full time. I kind of expected him to be running better.
If I'm the 54, I'm hating this off week because I've just finally hit a groove and now we're off.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Well, his Toyota teammate behind him there, John Hunter Nemechek, has dropped like a rock through the standings. Earlier, 4 races ago, he was inside the top 12.
Yep.
That's how fast things can go sideways. Like I said, it's easier to lose points than it is to gain them, and they have
That
lost.
Backstreet Boys paint scheme, they've been
Yep.
down ever since they ran it.
Yep. He
Back-
probably thought
he's
he was
going
running
back
instinct because that top 12 went bye-bye.
Back street wasn't back.
So he needs to get back at it. I was impressed early in the season when you saw him and Jones running well for Legacy, but I think you're starting to see the players that we expect come up and the people that have struggled traditionally slowly fall back.
I think when it comes to Legacy, they definitely need to get in sync to
Sponsor.
get this. No, they just need to get in sync while they're off this week.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
probably they're probably on the hot seat. It's probably like around 98 degrees.
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep hitting it.
In,
Okay.
in the shop there. So
Chris is like, you guys disgust me. You're such disappointments. Take your man card.
I wonder if within Legacy the issue with
last week.
I wonder what the issue with Legacy has anything to do with RWR stuff. Maybe internally they're falling apart because they're all pissed off about how that's going.
I mean, we saw it with Denny's team last year. They didn't perform as well as I would have expected based off the distractions. It seems like they've got those distraction pieces worked out with the lawsuit this year compared to the initial part last year. So, there could be something to that. And so now we're to the last Penske car, Austin Cindric back there in 22nd. I'm really surprised he's back there, just based off the speed. The other 2 out of the 4 Penske cars have, and he's definitely the furthest back. Well, you know what? Didn't he have a penalty? Yes, he did. So never mind. I'm not now. I know why. I forgot. He's back there because of his behavior, his bad boy behavior behind the wheel, wrecking people. So really, he should be a lot further up.
Where to
He's
put
got
him?
57 stage points.
yeah.
What'd you say,
Not that he
Chris?
has that penalty.
Add 50 points to that. Where
Would he be?
If we give him 50 points right now, that brings him to 221. That would vault him to 11th or just behind 12th in points. So
Oh, wow.
13th.
There you go. Wow.
So that 50 points has him 10 spots lower than he should be. So maybe he'll get his head out of his ass and stop right hooking people when he doesn't get what he wants.
No.
it's hard to do when
It's hard to do when Dad runs a company.
Well, yeah, but Dad's over in IndyCar, not Cup. So I'm just saying. But
He's got a big enough foothold that it makes a difference.
so they've got the good thing for them is they've got 57 stage points. That's propping them up against that. It basically wipes out their penalty that they have. But if they hadn't had that penalty, they're in the top 12, and they're solidly in the top 12 at that. So I think the real thing, right now, looking at the break, they got to really re-examine. And I'm wondering if separate from whether everybody's good for breaks or not, I wonder if the rest of the field looks at that and says, the next time I think about retaliating, is it really worth it? Because it's done its job. He is a good ways out from making it into the top 16. He's 25, almost 30 points back, and he's going to need, you can erase that with some stage wins, but you also have to have the people you're racing not have, good days too. And that's only going to get harder.
Well, with this episode we're on right now, we're talking about do they want the week off? And I'd say no, they'd want Talladega this week because what car has been the strongest at the drafting tracks this year? The two.
Yep, the two's been the dominant car at the first two drafting tracks. Should have 2 wins right now. Was the car for
As long
both.
as you don't hook anybody.
Yep. So I would say they probably don't want the break, but I would be willing to bet you they're going to be the dominant car when we get to Talladega.
Yep.
I just want to be in 8th place when we take the white flag.
Yep, be like
On the
Byron,
outside.
just ride out.
Dude.
That was so
No.
friggin' that was the only thing. The only thing I've ever seen worse than that was a friggin' ARCA race that Brandon McReynolds won, where the entire top 12 fucking wrecked coming off of 4, and he won the race from 13th. That's the only one I've seen worse than that. But even that was.
Didn't
I
Tony
mean,
Stewart win a race like that? Or no, it wasn't Tony Stewart. It was who drove the 16 Roush Xfinity car?
Biffle.
No, it
Oh,
was
you're talking about
Ryan Reed.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. I was thinking about
He was
I don't
running,
think it was.
he was running 16th going into turn 3 and won the damn race.
Yep. So, all right. So next up on our list, Justin Haley. I think they definitely don't want a break because they're finally running where I think Rodney and he thought they, would start to run. They ran well this week. They finally got, they've got Larson's old pit crew and his pit crew went to Larson's. I think that was, obviously it showed good for both sides. Larson won the weekend, had a fast pit crew all weekend, but so has Blaney, or not Blaney, Haley. And, I had said if Haley and them haven't started to find a rhythm by this race, I think that they're in trouble. Because you don't have any excuses. You've got Rodney over there, who was Kevin Harvick's crew chief, who helped him win a championship, helped Mark Martin, regenerate his career before he went over to HMS, helped get Brian Vickers back in victory lane after his illness problems. Like, you have no excuses to not be running toward the front. So,
not only,
and we're going to a drafting track where Haley runs well.
Yeah, not only that, the Haley, something we didn't talk about last night in the race show is the fact that Haley was the first one to show any balls and just go for it on the outside at Bristol. Like he's basically the one that showed the way, said, guys, let's fucking go.
Yep.
And, if not for Haley doing that when he did, we might ride around there more than what we originally did. So kind of shows that the whole team in general, as far as the 7 and the 77, they're putting their best foot forward and they're trying stuff that others won't.
Yep. All right. So behind Haley, we got Zane Smith with front row. And let's see, is he the furthest forward front row car? I believe he is.
Yep.
No.
Yes, he is.
Noah.
Who's ahead of him?
Oh yeah, you mean the highest up?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the furthest
Yeah,
forward in
yeah,
points front row, which is not what I would have expected. I was expecting Gilliland to be there, but Gilliland's trailing behind him by 4 positions in the points, and Noah is buried back there in 30 seconds. So I think that whole team is ready for a break. They're a long ways from making the top 16. They're a long ways competing for wins. They just need to finish and finish inside the top 15. If they can, I think that's their goal at this point. It's just like, let's start turning in some top 15s first.
You think Ford is going, did we really out SHR to get this team? Is that really what we're putting our money into?
Okay, so to that point, Paul Custer has steadily sat there in 35th with 2 whole stage points and 85 race points. Cody Ware, his buddy, back there in the Ford camp, 45 points. And Corey LaJoy, who's ran 3 races this year, has 24 points. Like, the Ford camp, they got a lot of people back here in the back. And obviously the most surprising one to me is Brad Keselowski, but he's had some awful fucking luck. He was running well at Darlington before that lug nut bit him, went flying off. and he then crab walked that car all the way back without losing the tire, which was impressive. But
That's what you get for not doing a throwback.
yep, it was a good looking car though. So
Can,
Yeah,
can
again,
I,
I think
can I,
yeah, I think RFK is looking forward to that weekend. So back here in this cluster, we can just talk about them all together from here, in my opinion. The front
can I
row,
say something?
obviously, yeah.
There's one that stands out to me.
Okay.
And the fact he stands out is because I think his job is literally on the line, and that's Daniel Suarez.
Yep. I was going to get there.
27th. He is needing this week off pretty badly because they've got to figure something out. Because if he doesn't just go the other direction the rest of the year, he's gone, I think.
Him and SVG both are terrible.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say, while I agree with you, I think he might be gone. I don't think his potential replacement, we all think, is going to replace him at some point. Zilich isn't exactly lighting the world on fire in Xfinity right now.
Well, what's it matter? It's Xfinity.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, he may not be, he's definitely the real deal. But is he ready to come up and take that? Would the 99 run any better with Zilich in it than would Daniel?
Yes.
Daniel's an Xfinity champion and a multi-time Cup Series winner. So is Zilich really going to come up there?
Well, just like Larson said yesterday, Xfinity, they don't. I mean, they're not doing anything. It's the truck series you want to look at these days, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, that statement from Larson yesterday
in that interview
That was gold.
was wow. I mean,
he he basically lined up the entire damn field, took the glove off, and bitch slapped every one of them with it.
Yeah.
Hold still, whack, hold still, whack, hold still, whack.
Yeah.
Lord.
So I mean, yeah, to wrap up the people here in the back, Brad obviously needs a week off. Ty Dillon needs a week off so he can shake off the bad luck. FRM, they're just running awful. Daniel
Flores
certainly
needs 3 weeks off.
Austin Dillon, needs it off. Hocevar probably doesn't want it off because even though he's had the bad luck, he's had the speed. He was up front yesterday. He's been contending for those top tens, if not for bad luck.
You would think a jack man knew where the damn slot is to put the jack under the car.
But so
that doesn't happen, they get a top 10 finish.
Yep. So I would say that pretty much wraps up the.
they need to
Go ahead.
go back to the
Shop and find out who named that jack post the G spot.
Yeah.
because he missed it.
My one is Custer.
Yeah.
Haas should have just
Shut the doors.
Gave up Cup, stayed with Xfinity, left Cole in an Xfinity car because, okay, he can freaking win Xfinity races, but he can't even get a top 20 in a Cup car for them.
I don't think they should have given up Cup altogether. I just think they hired the wrong guy for Cup.
Well, I mean,
I would have put Mayer in Cup before Custer.
I honestly think the driver's not even your problem at this point. When you announced, just for Haas, I think when you announced you were going to shut that team down and you put all those people into this position of instability, you lost all of your good people. You lost Cheddar, you lost Rodney, you lost Briscoe's crew chief. Like, you lost all the people that got you wins, got you a championship, were your innovators. So you gutted your talent. So you literally are starting over from zero, and it shows in the points. I mean, you're right there with the guy who starts for Rick Ware 3 times, and you're barely running better than him. If Corey goes out there and runs 3 races and still finishes in the back, he'd pass him right now. That's how bad it is. But
it goes back to my same comment about Penske and why I really think, I mean, other than the speed has been there, the performance has showed up a little more. That 50-point penalty proves it. But ultimately, is there other drivers out there that are more deserving to have that seat as opposed to Austin Cindric, other than the foothold his dad has in Penske Motorsports? Same thing goes with Cole. with his dad Joe at Haas.
Yep.
Yeah.
The reason why that
Yeah, I
kid's in
think you
that
put
seat.
somebody else in that car, you get a different result. So,
And
so I didn't want to gloss over it or cut y'all off on the comment, but I mean, I agree 100%. Like first off, I like the shit talking that Larson did. I like the shit talking that Max Verstappen's doing. So some guy goes down here and runs in the B series, and that's who I'm supposed to be worried
I
about.
don't believe that
Struggling.
comment was true.
I don't know if it's real or not, but I thought it was hilarious. Either way,
Yeah.
but I like that.
I had to.
I like the cross sport motor sport rivalry. I think that's good for the sport, for all of them to have that kind of rivalry. But I love that
100%.
Larson went back down there and was like, these guys need a wake up call and a reminder of where you really are on the peg of like, here's Cup, and y'all are actually way down here. You're not even close to sniffing this air. I damn near lapped the field, and I wasn't even going hard at first. So the fact that his friends in the Cup Series were like, "I want you to go down there and spank him and lap the field," and he's like, "Game on." That's awesome.
My thing on that is I really would love to know if that comment was true. And I would love anybody, as far as an actual reporter, to go in and not just have the balls, but actually do your job and go in and say, okay, you may say that he's going down to a feeder series, but what do you go do? Because not only the feeder series, but he goes and runs the sprint cars. He goes and runs what you would consider to be the feeder series. He's going to run Indy. He's what even, I mean, you go back and you look at, and I don't follow F1, but growing up, you even heard like Michael Schumacher, some of those guys, even from back then, you heard about the stuff that they did getting into the sport. I haven't heard shit about Verstappen until now.
Well, I think Verstappen is obviously multi-time world champion, definitely a world-class driver. I think Kyle Larson is the best driver in the world. That's my opinion. Everybody would tell me I'm biased, and I don't have a room full of 5-car shit. I just think he is the best. The results speak for themselves. COVID 2020 lost his ride, said something stupid. How does he get a ride back and get people to go take a chance on him again? You know what? I'm just going to let my results do the talking. Every single thing he set his ass in the seat of, he won. And he beat
He won
he beat
50%
thousands of competitors across the country. Thousands across the country amongst all disciplines. And he went and he beat these are people that are the best. Donnie Schatz and Brad Sweet, like these are the best in the world at what they do at dirt racing and super and and wing sprints and ASA and dirt super late models and everything he tried won. Then he comes back to Cup, gets his second chance. He reels off 10 wins, probably could have had 15 and a championship, and hasn't sat in the car in damn near a year with his first time with his crew chief. Then he's climbed to 30 wins. Like I think he is the best driver in the world, no question. And I think you're going to see him put on a clinic when we get to Indianapolis, because this is his second time going down there now for Indy practice. And he said he learned a ton that he was able to translate when he went back for the Cup race. And so if it doesn't get rained out and we get to see him run Indy, whether he wins or loses, I think when it comes to the Cup field, when we get to Indy, I think those guys are in some big trouble.
And he said the Indy car runs like a Cup car. He said it feels like a Cup car.
It's going faster, but it sucks up the same way. Like I think those guys are going to be in for a world of hurt.
On the 2020 stuff, he won 52% of the races he entered that year.
Yep.
52%, I believe the number was. That's insane.
That's nuts. Wow.
So
I didn't know that. That's impressive.
Yeah, it was freaking crazy. But going back to my comment, or what I was saying is, if that comment is true and he did say that, so is Verstappen above that then? If you really want to make that argument, you either put yourself in that same position as him and prove that you're just as good as he is. If not, shut the fuck up. There's nothing behind your comments other than, granted, you can go out and you're good at what you do.
Yep.
The thing that I think will,
you gotta understand, Formula One thinks, in a sense, they're the pinnacle of racing, so that they're gonna act like that. They're
From an
gonna
engineering standpoint, they are. I mean, you're
so
talking
they're
about
gonna
airplanes
say,
on wheels. But
They're going to say they're better than anything else. They don't need to prove.
But at the same time, I would say, well, so to give Verstappen credit, or to at least give him a point of excuse, not that he gives a shit what we think, but Formula One doesn't let their drivers do what the NASCAR guys are letting their guys do now. Formula One, you're my guy for this, multi-billion-dollar investment we've got with Mercedes or McLaren or Red Bull or whatever.
they don't.
You don't get to go moonlight in anything else. You live and breathe that carbon fiber open wheel car, and that's it. So,
I think the comment that
I would love
Tony
to see
Kanaan,
them like, let's line up 3 races of your discipline, 3 races of my discipline. Let's see who comes out on top. Let's line up, 3 ovals, 3 road courses, and 3 of them are in stock cars and 3 of them are in your Formula One car, and let's see who comes out. I think Kyle Larson would take his ass to school.
I think they missed a huge opportunity to flat out ask. And you don't necessarily hear a whole lot of talk about it. That's why, even like Blake said, if that comment is true, why was that comment not asked from Junior to Tony Kanaan? Because the comments that Tony Kanaan made was, I wish I would have gone and raced other stuff.
Yeah, it said it would have made it better. Yep, that was a great podcast. I have to go do dinner, gentlemen. I would love to continue. I can let y'all continue if you want, but otherwise we can wrap it up.
The only thing I want to wrap up is with the RCR stuff.
Yep.
They need to stop running a third car when the other 2 cars are running so badly.
Yep.
Putting Jackie Love in this week, putting in Austin Hill last week, those are distractions. Those are taking your manpower away from your 2 primary cars to run third teams that aren't doing a damn thing. Jesse Love probably got lapped 5-6 times Sunday. If they need to take this week off and reanalyze and go, do we really need to run a third Cup car at these other races? We may have contracts for them, but let's rip them up.
Yep, I agree.
I'd even one up it and say they need to stop running Austin Dillon in Cup cars.
Well, I want to agree with you, but the man's got 2 Daytona 500s and a Coke 600, so it's hard to argue against him.
But I think that's what happened to Trackhouse, adding
Project 91 and now Van Gisbergen. Yeah.
Now they've added a third car, and it's just.
Well, I'm not even so sure that the third.
I don't think they were ready.
Is, he went and Justin accelerated his. I don't know if you follow the other part of what he does. The Cars Tour, I don't think is too big a distraction because it's got multiple partners. But Trackhouse got into MotoGP, and that's a big commitment across the globe. Trackhouse brand globally, and they're losing Pitbull. So I'm curious about how all these data points. And then they lost Ty Norris. So if you lose a key management component, you lose a key investor and partner, and then you expand over here to a totally different racing series a year ahead of schedule. Like, how does all that play into it? So again, all it does make me do when it comes to Trackhouse is give Ross Chastain even more credit, because you're obviously punching way above your weight class of where those cars are performing right now. Because all I have to do is look at, I'm not upset with SVG. I think when we get to the road courses, the rest of the road courses, they'll be fine. But Daniel better figure it out or he's going to be unemployed. So,
yeah.
Okay.
I think I think I even kind of made the comment that mine was almost a pity pick, for lack of a better term, saying that Suarez would have the best opportunity of being the one to go out and win the race in Mexico. But I think that is going to be his only chance to save his ride this year, if that's even possible.
Yeah. Not happening.
But I'll even one up your comment there. Michael Waltrip also went out and won 2 Daytona 500s, but didn't have to fucking wreck somebody to do it either.
You're not wrong. Hey, you're not wrong. So,
all right, good show.
All right, good show, gentlemen. Thanks for the time. And I'm looking forward to Rockingham. I can't.
At UF Race Fans.
Yep, at UF Race Fans, and listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, and iHeartRadio, and leave us some feedback. Have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.